Metro TV will start in 30 seconds. Folks, we were waiting on our page to get... This is the regular meeting of the Louisville Metro Council of June 26, 2025. Please come to order. The time is currently about 6:15. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is being held pursuant to KRS 61.826 and Council Rule 5A. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hawkins. Present. Councilmember Shanklin. Present. Councilmember Parrish-Wright.
Present.
Councilmember Herndon.
Present.
Councilmember Purvis.
Present.
Councilmember Leninger.
Present.
Councilmember McCraney.
Here.
Councilmember Reno Weber.
Present.
Councilmember Owen.
Here.
Councilmember Raymond.
Here.
Councilmember Kramer. Here. Councilmember Joseph.
Here.
Councilmember Sine. Here. Councilmember Best. Here. Councilmember Chapel.
Here.
Councilmember Reed. Here. Councilmember Winkler.
Here.
Councilmember Parker. Councilmember Piagentini.
Here.
Councilmember Benson.
Present.
Councilmember Roy. Councilmember Bretcher.
Here.
Councilmember Hudson.
Here.
Councilmember Woolrich.
Here.
Councilmember Betchon.
Here.
President Ackerson.
Present, and let the record reflect that Councilwoman Rui has an excused absence due to illness. Councilwoman Parrish-Wright, I believe you've got a page.
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank this body for waiting on our youth. His name is Chase Reese. While in transport here, they were pulled over, so that took a little bit, but we made it, and I want to thank his driver and thank Chase for coming. Chase is amazing. Nine years old, he's in the 4th grade. Chase Reese is a spirited 4th grader at Cochran Elementary, where he brings energy and enthusiasm to both the classroom and the football field. With a passion for football, Chase spends his afternoons practicing his skills and dreaming of making the winning play. Outside of football, Chase enjoys hanging out with friends, exploring new and active games, and sharing his love for the sport with anyone who will listen. Chase is interested in politics and learning about the rights and responsibility of others at a very young age. He became very intrigued at the then new councilwoman and surprises his mother often by informing her of Metro Council news that he sees and follows on social media. He actually looks at my social media. Don't hold it against him. Chase strives to be a good citizen, serving his community. He quickly can identify issues in community and lend his voice to speak for what's right. He continues to excel in school and will always help his mom and grandmother. Welcome, Chase, and thank you.
Madam Clerk, are there any addresses to council?
Yes, sir, we have 2.
Okay, let me remind those addressing the council, please refrain from using any profanity, making any derogatory statements to council members. Additionally, there's only 3 people can speak on a topic because there's only 2. There's not a problem with that tonight. So, if you can call up the speakers.
Ricardo X.
Good evening, Louisville Metro Council. I'm Ricardo X. I'm an educator in this community since 1975, and I emailed each of you a memo that addressed what I perceive to be an inequity in the mayor's 2026 budget proposal. I referenced Joseph Gerf's article here on May 4th, 2025, where he asked the question, the Roots 101 Museum is a gem, is in precious stone. Why hasn't Louisville embraced it? First and foremost, Roots 101 is a nationally acclaimed museum, 65,000 visitors annually, and it serves as a vital educational resource not only for the black community, but for the community at large. Since its inception in 2019, Roots has not received a dime of Louisville Metro Council money, according to the information I have, okay? And that's 6 years, y'all. And 6 years is like, I know you can debate about, well, somebody didn't get their stuff in on time or whatever you might want to talk about, but 6 years is that's exclusion. Okay, that's more than that. Can't address it to oversight or something such as that. So, and of course, the budget tells us what our priorities are. So why is it that every other significant cultural institution can get funded, and I made some references to $300,000 to Portland Museum and various other museums, and how come Roots can't get nothing, not a dime? This relevant cultural institution is deserving of financial support, and equity demands that this funding disparity be addressed. You, Metro Council, you have the power to correct this inequity by allocating appropriate funding for Roots 101 African American Museum. So the question that Girth asked, why hasn't Louisville embraced it? Today, Metro Council, you have the opportunity to change that answer. Thank you.
Councilman Hearn, I believe you need a point of personal privilege.
Yes, sir. Sir, I just wanted you to know, you're obviously not aware of this, that we were able to secure $100,000 for Roots 101 in this budget tonight.
Today.
Yes, tonight.
That sounds like it's approaching justice. Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Siobhan Thompson.
Hello, my name is Siobhan Thompson, and I attend Bethel Baptist Church, and I'm a member of Clout. For about a year and a half, I worked as a peer support specialist at the Living Room, which was a crisis drop-in center in Louisville that operated from 2017 to 2019. Working in the Living Room, I saw so many examples of how a drop-in crisis center can change lives. I saw people in mental health crises who needed safe space or someone to talk to. I saw police drop people off when they knew jail wasn't the right solution. Whatever problem they were facing, I saw people at their lowest and had the opportunity to point them in the right directions. One time, a woman came in and told us that she wanted to go into drug treatment. We helped her set up an appointment at a treatment facility and arranged transportation for her. While we were waiting, she OD'd in the bathroom. Thankfully, we were there to respond, and she made a full recovery. She later entered treatment. I can only imagine what would have happened to her if the crisis center did not exist. A crisis center isn't just a temporary fix. It's a way for people to connect to resources, and take the first step on the road to recovery. This problem is personal to me because I'm a mother of a child who struggles with mental health issues. And even for someone like me who has worked in the mental health field, it's hard to know where to turn to find the resources. My son is lucky to have me, but you shouldn't have to have a parent who's a mental health professional to find help. Without a place like this, too many people end up spiraling until they end up in hospitals, jails, or worse. In the last 6 years, without a crisis center, I think we've all seen evidence of this problem in our streets, and it's only going to get worse as we continue to deal with the aftermath of the pandemic. We can't ignore the problem any longer. We know that the solution to our growing mental health crisis is to establish a new drop-in crisis center. 7 counties is prepared to launch this program, but it will require seed money from Metro Council to get started. So many other cities toured the Living Room and took the best practices. I was one of the peers who would come in early to lead some of those tours. Many of those cities have successfully gone on to run their own programs. Clearly, it can be done, and if done properly, it will obviously work. We used to inspire other cities, and it's embarrassing that we no longer have that resource to offer to our own community. So while we know the budget is being voted on tonight, the work is not done. We know that there will be mid-year adjustments and another budget before we know it. This program needs to be a priority for our city. It has saved lives, and I know it will too. Thank you.
President Atkinson, that concludes our addresses to council.
Councilman Shanklin, I believe you've asked for a point of personal privilege.
Yes, I want to ask to be silent just for a moment. I was thinking about the young man that drowned in the river, and it really touched my heart because as we were kids, we played in the river a lot, and I lost 2 cousins of the river, and so that's just been bothering me all day long, and it happened so quick, you don't know, so I just want to take a moment of silence just for the young man.
We'll have a moment of silence. Next, we have the approval of the council minutes for the regular meeting of June 12, 2025. Are there any corrections or deletions?
Second.
Motion is brought before us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, the minutes are approved as written. Next, we have the approval of the following committee minutes, all in 2025. The regular committee of the whole, June 12th. The special budget committee, June 16th. The regular planning and zoning, June 17th. The regular labor and economic development, June 17th. The regular government oversight audit and appointments, June 17th. The regular equity, community affairs, housing, health, and education, June 18th. The regular appropriations, June 18th. The regular public safety, June 18th. The special budget meeting, June 23rd. And the regular committee on committees, June 24th. Are there any corrections or deletions? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Motion.
Items properly before us. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, the minutes are approved as written. Madam Clerk, do we have any communications to the council?
Yes, sir, we do.
Please read those into the record.
Dear President Atkinson, in accordance with the Board of Zoning Adjustment Ordinance, I am reappointing the following. William Brent Ford, reappointment term expires June 30th, 2028. Yanni Vazos, reappointment term expires June 30th, 2028. Your proper attention on these reappointments is most appreciated. Sincerely, Craig Greenberg, Mayor. Dear President Atkinson, in accordance with the Criminal Justice Commission, I am appointing and reappointing the following. Forge Clay, reappointment term expires June 30th, 2027. Joanne James, reappointment term expires June 30th, 2027. Stephen Lawlins, new appointment, term expires December 31st, 2026. Your proper attention on these appointments and reappointments is most appreciated. Sincerely, Craig Greenberg, Mayor. Dear President Atkinson, in accordance with the Domestic Violence Prevention Coordinating Council, I am appointing and reappointing the following. Sharon Derrick, reappointment term expires April 26, 2028. Carney DeBarles, reappointment term expires April 26, 2028. Autumn Lockhart, new appointment term expires April 26, 2028. Brittany Hill Whitehead, new appointment term expires April 26, 2028. Eli Fox, new appointment term expires April 26, 2028. Brittany Doyle, new appointment term expires April 26, 2028. Your proper attention to these appointments and reappointments is most appreciated. Sincerely, Craig Greenberg, Mayor. Read in full.
Those appointments needing council approval will be forwarded to the Government Oversight Audit Committee. Next is our consent calendar. The consent calendar comprises items 17 through 60. Are there any additions or deletions?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I would like to remove item number 49 from the consent calendar, please.
Item number 49 will be removed.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, a second reading of the remainder of the items.
The following legislation was forwarded from the Appropriations Committee. Item 17, an ordinance appropriating $12,000 from District 4 Neighborhood Development Funds to Brightside, Inc. for 502 Tree and Landscape to perform tree trimming services and remove dead trees in District 4. Item 18, an ordinance amending ordinance number 231, Series 2024, appropriating $60,000 neighborhood development funds in the following manner: $35,500 from District 23, $20,000 from District 24, $2,000 from District 22, $1,000 from District 8, and $500 each from Districts 9, 17, and 21 to Metro Parks for production cost of the 2025 Friday Fest and Highview Park Concert Series. Item 19, an ordinance appropriating $7,500 from District 1 neighborhood development funds to Metro Parks for the sponsorship of 15 children to attend Southwest Southwick Community Center's 2025 summer camp. The following legislation was forwarded from Budget Committee. Item 20, an ordinance amending ordinance number 100, Series 2024, relating to the fiscal year 2024-2025 operating budget by transferring $10,000 from the Neighborhood Development Fund, District 1, to the Louisville Metro Council General Operations, District 1. Item 21, an ordinance approving the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget for Louisville Tourism. Item 22, an ordinance approving the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget for the Transit Authority of River City, TARC. Item 23, a resolution approving the budget and economic improvement plan for the Greater Louisville Lodging Management District, DBA Louisville Hotel Partnership for the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. The following legislation was forwarded from Committee on Committees. Item 24, a resolution amending the Louisville Metro Council policies and procedures and the Louisville Metro Council personnel policies. The following legislation was forwarded from Equity, Community Affairs, Housing, Health, and Education Committee. Item 25, a resolution determining the property located at 3021 and 3042 Wilson Avenue, and 3028 Wilson Avenue, 3038 Wilson Avenue, 3044 Wilson Avenue, and 3017 Wyandotte Avenue as surplus and not needed for a governmental purpose and authorizing their transfer. Item 26, a resolution honoring the Honorable J. Michael Brown by dedicating the corners of 18th and 19th Streets at their intersection with Madison Street as J. Michael Brown Way in his honor. The following legislation was forwarded from Government Oversight, Audit, and Appointments Committee. Item 27, an appointment of Dr. Ida Dickey to the Civilian Review and Accountability Board. Term expires March 25th, 2028. Item 28, an appointment of Dr. Kenneth Pagano to the Civilian Review and Accountability Board. Term expires March 25th, 2027. Item 29, appointment of Benham Sims to the Civilian Review and Accountability Board. Term expires March 25th, 2028. Item 30, reappointment of Jason Smith, to the Anchorage Middletown Fire Protection District Board. Term expires June 30th, 2028. Item 31, reappointment of Andrea Osser to the Anchorage Middletown Fire Protection District Board. Term expires June 30th, 2028. Item 32, an appointment of Barry Korstein to the Anti-Displacement Commission. Term expires June 26, 2028. Item 33, appointment of Valerie Golson Day to the Anti-Displacement Commission. Term expires June 26, 2028. Item 34, appointment of Vashti Proctor to the Anti-Displacement Commission. Term expires June 26, 2028. Item 35, appointment of Evan Bradley to the Anti-Displacement Commission. Term expires June 26, 2027. Item 36, an appointment of Dr. Brandon Graves to the Anti-Displacement Commission. Term expires June 26, 2027. Item 37, appointment of Beverly Morton to the Anti-Displacement Commission. Term expires June 26, 2027. Item 38, appointment of LaShonda Allen to the Anti-Displacement Commission. Term expires June 26, 2026. Item 39, appointment of Michelle Gardner to the Anti-Displacement Commission. Term expires June 26, 2026. Item 40, appointment of Corbett Michael Scholl to the Civilian Review and Accountability Board. Term expires March 25, 2028. Item 41, appointment of Krishna Tibbs to the Ethics Commission. Term expires June 30th, 2028. Item 42, appointment of Casey Hinkle to the Ethics Commission. Term expires June 30th, 2028. Item 43, appointment of John Hatfield to the Ethics Commission. Term expires June 30th, 2028. Item 44, appointment of Imran Aslam to the Ethics Commission. Term expires June 30th, 2028. Item 45, appointment of Danny Bale to the Fairdale Fire Protection District Board. Term expires June 30th, 2028. Item 46, appointment of Jasmine Wiggins to the Kentuckiana Works Greater Louisville Workforce and Development Board. Term expires December 17th, 2028. Item 47, appointment of Tim Martin to the Redevelopment Authority Board. Term expires January 28th, 2028. Item 48, reappointment of Clara Passafume to the Redevelopment Authority Board. Term expires February 28th, 2028. The following legislation was forwarded from Labor, Economic, and Development Committee. Item 50, a resolution pursuant to the capital and operating budget ordinances approving the appropriation to fund the following sole source contract for the zoo concerning parts, maintenance, repair, and service for the zoo's antique conservation carousel, Carousels and Carvings, Inc., $200,000. Item 51, a resolution approving the granting of local incentives to eBlue Solutions, Inc., and any subsequent assignees or approved affiliates thereof pursuant to KRS Chapter 154, Subchapter 32. Item 52, a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept $21,000 of funding from Kentucky Department of Libraries and Archives to be administered by the Office of Records Compliance. Item 53, a resolution pursuant to the capital and operating budget ordinances approving the appropriation to fund the following sole source contract for public works and assets concerning split basis for large decorative light poles located throughout Louisville Metro Central Business District, Visco, Inc., $85,000. Item 54, a resolution pursuant to the capital and operating budget ordinances approving the appropriation to fund the following non-competitively negotiated professional service contract for the Louisville Zoological Gardens for its mentor internship program for Jefferson Community Technical College students. Jefferson Community Technical College, $140,000. Item 55, resolution pursuant to the capital and operating budget ordinances approving the appropriation to fund the following sole source contract for Louisville Metro Revenue and Tax Processing Services, Fast Enterprises LLC, $2,209,060. Item 56, a resolution pursuant to the capital and operating budget ordinances approving the appropriation to fund the following sole source contract for the Louisville Metro Police Department to purchase a Simtech modular tack house modular system, Simtech Modular, Inc., $44,240.08. The following legislation was forwarded from Planning and Zoning Committee. Item 57, an ordinance relating to the planned development option for property located at 2004 Bank Street containing approximately .12 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 25-CAT3-0001. Item 58, a resolution requesting the Planning Commission to review an amendment to the Land Development Code, LDC, to adopt the alternative regulations for zoning map amendment procedures as outlined in KRS 100.2111. Item 59, a resolution requesting the Planning Commission to review an amendment to the Land Development Code, LDC, Chapter 1, to extend the expiration date of approved development plans for affordable housing to 5 years. The following legislation was forwarded to Public Safety Committee. Item 60, an ordinance amending the Louisville Metro Code of Ordinances, Section 72.062, concerning stolen vehicle retrieval at the Louisville Metro toll lot, read in full.
May I have a motion? And a second. Item is brought before us. Madam Clerk, this requires a roll call vote. Please open the roll.
Councilman Piagentini?
If I'm not coming across, because I'm logged into.
You are. I apologize.
Oh, great. I am an aye, though. Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Joseph?
Yes.
Councilman Chapel? Close voting. Chair, you've got 25 yes votes.
Consent counter passes. The next item of business is old business. Madam Clerk, a reading of item number 61.
Item 61, an ordinance relating to the fiscal year 2025-2026 operating budget for the Louisville Jefferson County Metro Government, including appropriations and authorizations for operation, maintenance, support, and function of the government and its various offices, departments, commissions, institutions, agencies, and other Metro-supported activities as amended, read in full.
Motion to approve.
Items brought before us. This came out of the Budget Committee, so Councilman Kramer, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. As my colleagues know, and for the public watching at home, we've had this budget before us since April. Lots of really good conversation, culminated in a couple weeks of negotiations done in good faith. It's not, I think, I'm going to offer or suggest that the Vice Chair have a moment to speak as well, but I feel sure that most of us would acknowledge that if we wrote the budget, this is not what it would look like. But that's the way budgets work when you have 26 council members who are trying to figure out what their top priorities are. Again, after a lot of conversation, feel like we've arrived at a budget that captures the desires, the priorities. First for the mayor, who sent us a budget that was, in my experience, a little bit easier to work with than some of the budgets we've had in the past. And have come up with a budget that I think is really good. I don't want to speak specifically to the budget itself. It passed out of committee with a 10-to-1 vote. Lots of very open and spirited discussion during that committee meeting. It's been in the system for quite some time, so it should be readily available. I will say that when we finished committee on Monday, we recognized that there were a couple items that some I's that need to be dotted, some T's that need to be crossed. So there are a couple technical amendments, or a couple technical changes. They're not amendments, it's just technical changes.
Before we get into that real quickly, just so we're clear,
Sure.
we've got a motion to put this before us, correct? And a second?
Second.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so.
Swing away.
Yeah, so now we're talking about the budget that was amended that came out of committee. Thank you. So what I'm holding, this doesn't require any vote or any consideration. These are just technical changes. Things like, we had money going to one department, the same amount of money just was going to a different department. Those kinds of simple changes. So really happy with where we are. I want to say thank you to the mayor for the budget that he sent. I want to say especially thank you for his consistent availability. Anytime I had a question or concern, I called and he either answered or called right back. That makes a lot of difference. Working with Councilman Winkler, again, same thing, met in person several times. I was traveling a bit. He was kind enough to be patient through my missing airplanes. And then he was traveling a bit, and I was gracious enough to allow that he was with his daughters and recovering from bumping into things. So it was a really good process. Again, want to thank everybody that was involved in him asking for a yes vote. And again, if Councilman Winkler would like to say a few words.
Thank you, President Atkinson, and thank you, Chair Kramer. And just want to echo the sentiments. And I think as Councilman Kramer said, any one of us would write a different budget, but at the end of the day, this is a budget that reflects the collective priorities of 26 of us plus the folks across the street at the administration. And I think, funds things that across the community that people care about. And I think on balance is a good budget. I want to thank Chair Kramer for the partnership. I won't thank everybody. I did that in committee on Monday, but do want to thank all the department heads who came and spoke, all the members of the committee who asked very insightful questions, and certainly then the staff here at Metro Council that put in countless hours to get us to where we are. So again, would ask for everybody's support of what we have before us, and thank you, President Ackerson.
All right, folks, first in my queue is Councilman Lininger. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make a motion for an amendment to the amended budget.
I'll second.
Second.
You want to read your amendment?
Yes, sir. And this is in all of your email inboxes. It's also in the documents. But I will go over the executive summary of the amendments that I'm offering, a People's Budget for an Affordable Louisville. This package of budget amendments, one offered for the FY26 operating budget, and I'll speak to both in my motivation here, and then when we come to the capital budget, I think we can consider it properly motivated, and I don't think I'll need to remotivate it as it is all one summary. But one offered for the FY26 operating budget and one offered for the FY26 capital budget makes changes to the proposed Louisville Metro budget that reflect community asks for a budget that meets the needs of working-class Louisvillians. This is a package of amendments that would help protect access to public transit, expand access to food and lower the price of groceries, and fund a study to research bringing LG&E into public ownership and providing cheaper, cleaner energy. It would also help build more affordable housing, provide support for needed social services, and strengthen Metro government departments like the Office of Violence Prevention in our Metro parks. This is a budget truly by and for the working people of Louisville. In the operating budget, this amendment would reallocate $28,557,300 from the proposed FY26 budget by restoring LMPD's appropriation to the amended FY25 budget amount, as well as eliminating funding for unspecified AI programs, the external Louisville Economic Development Alliance, and the thus far unfulfilled Park Ranger program. The $28.5 million would be reallocated to programs that community members asked for repeatedly during the budget process. It would provide $10 million in funding for TARC to help shore up their fiscal situation as they implement the TARC 2025 redesign, $6 million to meet the asks of the Safe and Stable Housing for All plan, $4 million to create an Office of Food Security and operate a pilot municipal grocery store program, $3 million to the West Louisville Dream Team for the preservation of the NIA Center, nearly $5 million to add positions and expand services for the Office of Violence Prevention, Louisville Metro Animal Services, Parks and Recreation, Codes and Regulations, and Alcohol Beverage Control, $350,000 to the Office of Sustainability for a feasibility study for taking LGN into public ownership, and $150,000 in funding for the Imagination Library of Louisville. In the capital budget, this amendment would reallocate $15,266,000 from the proposed FY26 budget by I was asked to motivate them once. No. The amendment would reallocate $15,266,000 from the proposed FY26 budget by removing $6 million for the purchase of the land of the First Responder Training Facility, $4 million for the purchase of poll books for the Jefferson County Clerk's Office, $3.7 million for additional vehicles and equipment for LMPD, $1 million for the MMY Modular Housing Demonstration Project, and $500,000 for the expansion of the license plate reader program. $15.2 million would be reallocated to help support the community priorities reflected in the operating budget amendment. It would provide $6 million in funding for capital purchases to support the pilot municipal grocery store program, $3 million for the acquisition of a new transit hub, $950,000 for deferred parks maintenance, $600,000 to renovate the Park Hill Community Center, $500,000 for the installation of solar panels for the Louisville Metro government buildings, and $400,000 more for the homeless shelter renovations. It goes on to list these by line item in the spreadsheet below, including where the funding sources are for the capital projects. I would like to just further speak to the fact that this came out of a proposal that was offered to all of us several weeks ago. And in my interactions with my own constituents, I had multiple budget town halls. I had my own feedback form. We, of course, received hundreds of items for feedback from the general public into the Louisville Metro Council form. And fundamentally, the biggest change here in the operating budget is that we take the LMPD line item back to what we amended for spending in the FY25 budget. And the reason that I do that, which in my mind makes this flat spending for LMPD, not a cut, but flat spending for their spending in reality. And the fact of the matter is that every year when Louisville Metro approves a budget, we include tens of millions of dollars for LMPD that we know they will not spend. We know they will not spend it. This is something we've done every year. And then in the mid-year adjustment, that money is handed back. This is money that is essentially stuffed under a mattress at LMPD, and it cannot be put to work for the people of Louisville in programs that are starved throughout the year in order to serve a fiction that we are increasing this police spending. Every year we hand this money back. I do not believe that this is fiscally responsible, and I believe that it is a harm to our community. And so that is why I made the decision to pull that money and put that into these different changes in the operating budget. It is also a fact of the matter that when we have so many people that ask us for more money for public transit, more money for parks and libraries, for codes and regulations, all of these other things that we fund in here, we have one item in our budget that far exceeds every other line item. Why rob banks? That's where the money is. Our money is in LMPD, and much of it is a fiction. And it is important that we address these community needs, and that is why that is where the funding is largely pulled from in the capital budget. And I'll be short because, again, I don't want to belabor the point. I don't agree with spending $6 million for what was called in Atlanta a cop city training facility. I have the same view of it here. And I think that that money is better served with a transit hub downtown for public transit, a restoration of $2.5 million for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, additional maintenance in Parks and Rec, and the other items listed below. This is something that I really believe in, and I ask my colleagues' support. I appreciate the people who have already said they will support, but I understand that we have different priorities, different visions. I do want to emphasize that no cut from the amended budget that came out of committee comes from anyone's district-specific spending, because I think that would be wrong, even in places where, obviously, I don't agree with everybody's priorities and, some of the things that we're spending money on. But I don't have to. But this is about the direction of our city and a fundamental problem that we have had since merger. Thank you.
Councilman Piagentini, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can you hear me okay in chambers?
Councilman Piagentini, you have the floor.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Barely.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm sorry that I couldn't join you in chambers this evening. I appreciate my colleague voicing his disagreement with this current budget. That's fine. I don't begrudge anybody their disagreement with this budget or any budget that we attempt to pass as a council. I would like to address a few topics, though, and why I would encourage my colleague, not so much related to the details of his amendment, although I object to them, but to a few facts and statements made related to this. Number one, there are not tens of millions of dollars a year squirreled away in some slush fund for LMPD that is then used in some other manner. There have been years in the past where maybe a couple $1,000,000, and it's usually a de minimis percentage of their overall budget, is not spent for one reason or another. There have also been years when they've had to move money into that budget because they have been over budget. So I disagree with that characterization. I also disagree with the characterization that this isn't defunding the police. The police budget goes up every year largely because of salaries. These are negotiated salaries in contracts for rank and file police officers that have to support their families and get properly compensated for the life-saving work they do every single day on behalf of the people of this city. And so it is imperative that we budget for those increases. To not budget for those increases is to cut police officers and defund the police. I want to fundamentally object to this concept of using the words the people's X, Y, or Z, right? In this case, the words were used that this is the people's budget. First of all, nothing is the people's budget unless it gets 14 votes on this council. Because without 14 votes on this council, it doesn't even represent a majority of the elected representatives of this community. So anything less than 14 votes could not be considered the people's anything. Secondly, if we're going to use a term as wide as, quote, the people's, unquote, anything, whether it's a budget or other document, then it probably should get the vast majority of votes, 20 to 26 votes, in order to even hold such a title. Otherwise, it is not the people's anything. It represents some people's opinion, maybe a few people's opinion, maybe even more than a few people's opinion. But to use these wide terminologies before something's been voted on, particularly when, in my, what I believe will happen here is this will only get a few votes, including my colleague, Councilman Lininger's, then to characterize it in this way is just not accurate, and I just object to it generally. And then finally, this concept that this is not affecting projects that are in our districts are simply not true. There are spending that is being proposed to be cut in this that directly impacts council districts, starting with the LMPD operating cut. That cut will absolutely reduce the police force in my district, amongst many others, I am sure. Okay, that is something that I prioritize more than anything else, to make sure that the people in my community are safe and have enough police officers to represent them. To say it does not cut that, you are characterizing certain things in the budget as, a district-funded project and other things as not. We prioritize that. The Minority Caucus prioritized a first responder training facility. It keeps getting characterized as just LMPD. That is not true. It will be a first responder training facility. So first of all, I don't understand why we want to have first responders and not properly train them and give them the facilities to be trained. But beyond that, that will be placed in certain areas of this district, in this city. That was prioritized by specific people and specific representatives throughout this community. And it will affect certain districts to not have that done, as well as other things that are being proposed to be cut here. So to say this is not affecting individual districts, that is to use terminology that, again, I disagree with, is to say that, well, because it's a specific district project for a specific park or something or road, if it's beyond that, it doesn't affect individual prioritized district projects. That's not true, because many of my colleagues prioritized these things and sacrificed other priorities in order to make sure these things are funded. And that brings me back finally to the process. I want to thank Councilman Kramer and Councilman Winkler. I think they have once again done an outstanding job as chair and vice chair to navigate what is hands down the most difficult document and process to navigate that we do every single year. And hands down, it is the most difficult. They strive to represent 26 very different voices with very different priorities. Not one of us would ever draft the document the way it's drafted. That is not possible. We would all do this differently. We have all sacrificed things, and we have all also received things that were prioritized individually, including some that are objecting to this budget. They still have things that were prioritized and were put into the budget. Okay, but we also all didn't get everything we wanted or didn't get things that were priorities. But I see this and the process that was done as actually reflecting the people, because it reflected the voices of 26 districts, 26 elected representatives of this community. So I would encourage everybody to vote against this and any amendments. Making any amendments to this budget is problematic in this manner. In this manner, all 26 of us would then be entitled to start making changes to this budget, and I can tell you that budget will then no longer be what I consider the people's budget, because it went through a process that reflected everybody's voice. So please reject this amendment and please adopt the budget as presented, which I believe to actually be the people's budget. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Winkler, you've got the floor. What's that? Gotcha. Councilwoman Mulway-Roridge, are you speaking to the amendment?
I am.
You have the floor, madam.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I do also want to say that I do object to this. There's a few things in here on both sides that I object to. So first of all, as it comes to, let me start with the operating here. Taking away money from LMPD. How can we say we're going to take away money from LMPD and take them back to where they were? So I believe last year, General, when it came to mid-year, we added $8 million. I believe when we go back to that. So to say we took money away from them, I just can't see that. And considering the fact that we are growing numbers and we're adding to their recruiting class, to take away from that means that we won't have the budget to continue to do that. So we need to continue expanding that. To take away money from the park rangers, we're trying to add to our parks. So if we're going to say that we're going to add to parks down, as you say, to add to parks and recreations, but yet we're going to eliminate funding for park rangers, I'm not sure how we can do both of those. So how do we say that we're going to do that? To take away LMPD, but who do we call first? We call the police officers. We want them to respond when something goes wrong, but yet we don't want to fund the police department. So I'm not sure how we do that. I keep hearing Cop City, and I see things out here say we're a cop city, but again, we gotta go back to the fact that we need our cops. We call our cops, but we don't want our cops. I think Councilman Piacentini, you said it right when you said that the first responder training facility. This isn't a police training facility. It's a first responder training facility, and it's not only for Louisville. They said it when they came and talked about it. It's for the city, for anybody to be able to use that to come and train what's to be the best of the best. So I appreciate that. And I also want to mimic what was said. So thank you, Councilman Kramer. Thank you, Councilman Winkler, for putting the time and the effort into making this budget. Thank you to the staff, and thank you for the mayor for putting that step forward. I am not going to be able to back this. I can back the budget that's in front of us. Can we please?
Yeah, come on. Folks in the audience, this is a debate here on the floor. I appreciate you being here and showing interest, but we're not going to tolerate disturbances. So please, be respectful. Madam, your floor continues.
Thank you. Again, I cannot support this. I can stand behind the police. I can stand behind the park rangers. I can stand behind the MNY. Again, I just can't support this. Thank you.
Next in the queue is Councilwoman Parrish Wright. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I first want to give the disclaimer that my comments about this is not against anyone who worked on this process. I reject that. And when we speak about the people we represent, each one of our districts have about 28 to 30+ thousand people in it. So we have been elected to represent those people and to do what's best for the greater good of Louisville and our merged government with county. That's all of our jobs. I reject the notion that because we have to have these debates, this is my second term on the Budget Committee. I joined it for a reason. 2 jobs in all. I come to most of my meetings, and it's good to see Councilman Piagentini attending virtually. I believe in hybrid options, and it's nice to see all parties use it. But I want to be clear. I support this amendment because we did not draft this budget as a council. This budget was presented to us by the mayor, and the mayor chose what he wanted and his team wanted in there. I do think that there's been a lot of concessions made on all sides, but we are simply going over the amendments together. These amendments, these adjustments, we are not creating a whole new document. I want to respect the process, but also say that we're here for a reason. And we do get to say the people's budget. We do get to say the people's consent decree. We do get to say we represent the people, because we do. And so if our constituents are asking us to do something bigger, better, and bolder, it is our job. We have over 700,000 people in our merged government. Only 439 people from the community, the constituents, responded through our online process. So now we're left with even their priorities did not get the priority in this budget. So it is our duty to try to meet them where we at, and we should not be retaliated against. I've heard everything from we'll give monies to 2 other districts and take it from you all if you have any amendments. That is very childish and very high school, and I reject anything that has to do with that. Not on my time while I'm on this council. I will not be threatened and treated differently, and I'm representing a district that typically gets left out. So if you do take what you offered District 3, guess what? We won't even feel it, because we haven't felt this budget in a very long time. So I am supporting Councilman Leninger's amendments, not out of disrespect, not to be disruptive, because in parts of this process, even though it was well-meaningful, things got messed up, things were left out. Many people didn't get the funding. They didn't even get scored correctly in the new EAF process. There's too many things that are happening to our communities that we can do something about right now. So that's why I'm supporting the amendment. I'm asking others to do the same. And if we fail, it is still not a loss, because right now, looking at this audience, looking at more and more people engaged in this process, we will keep pushing until we get a real people's budget. Thank you.
Councilman Leninger, you're next in the queue. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make a few short responses, and then I can't imagine that there's much more that needs to be said. First, I would like to ask my colleagues sincere forgiveness for my rhetorical flourish of the people's budget language. That was language that I took from what came out of the community when this was originally brought to my office. and it was indeed, I believe, brought to everyone's office. And so that's where that language comes from. The FY24 budget is the last year that we have the full year of fiscal spending to review. And in the FY24-25 budget, LMPD's budget was an original appropriation of $220 million. LMPD spent $193. That's tens of millions of dollars in difference. And again, that's the most recent number we have for a full year's appropriation. Specifically to the Park Rangers program, the reason that I included this, and it's not a large amount, right? $300,000, it's not a lot of money to play with in the budget. And this was a lot of work, especially in the capital budget. You know, you have to look at where the sources of funding are, make sure you're matching things correctly, and that we do need to pass a balanced budget, and that's why a great deal of care was taken on the cuts as well as the additions, which are what I really want to focus on. But most of the responses are about the cuts, so here I am. The Park Rangers program is a fiction, and I think that's unfortunate, but when we had a testimony in Parks and Sustainability, many members of the minority caucus asked, why aren't there park rangers in my parks? Why aren't we going to see them? And even park rangers, plural, is a fiction. We have one park ranger, we have the chief. And we have spent a great deal of money, a great deal of time, requiring this to be a law enforcement agency. We have overinvested in this program for the purpose of it being a law enforcement agency needlessly, because the park ranger chief testified to the Parks and Sustainability Committee that they were going to call LMPD when there was a problem. There is instead more money for personnel in parks in this amendment, because that's eyes and ears in the parks. That's people seeing, are there kids that are tearing up the playground? Or is there somebody doing, graffiti in the dugouts of the baseball field? Is there a sign that's all messed up and we need to replace? The things that we hear about in the Parks and Sustainability Committee and the complaints that we have about the deferred maintenance in parks. This will make our parks more safe than the Parks Ranger program. This will give our parks a better defense against vandalism and against, dangerous conditions that arrive from our deferred maintenance, because we'll have more people in parks. We'll have more Metro employees that can see when there's a problem. And again, it's not against the chief of the Park Rangers program that I'm saying this, or any future hires when, as I expect, this amendment fails. It's not about them. It's the fact that we have a performative fiction about the program, because they're just going to call LMPD when there's a problem. So instead, let's have more people in parks that are doing work in parks, going after our deferred maintenance, taking care of issues, and yes, seeing when there is a problem. And then when there's a problem, they're going to call LMPD instead. Thank you.
Councilman Hawkins, you're next in my queue. You have the floor, madam.
Yeah, thank you. First, I want to commend my colleague for putting this amendment together. But I'm going to say I need park rangers. As everyone knows, and my park ranger that's in Algonquin Park has been near and dear to the community that I serve. He's been eyes, ears, he's done the most. And he has not had to call LMPD because LMPD has been there. So my community, District 1, we need the police. As much as we say we don't, as much as, I feel as if $6 million to go to a training facility, it can go in so many other places. The quality of life for the seniors that I still have around, that's who they depend on. And and I want to say this publicly because I've had several people from District 1 call me wanting me to support this amendment. And I told my colleague that I would. But after speaking with the lead person that's leading this NEA Center, and after she had a strong conversation with me just about do not bundle this up with this amendment, I want to make it publicly known that I do support funding for the Neal Center, but I cannot support this amendment. Thank you.
Councilman Winkler, I believe you do not want to speak to the amendment. There's no one else in my queue for the amendment. So the amendment is properly before us. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, so there's no confusion on a voice vote. Madam Clerk, please open the roll for a vote on the amendment. What's that?
A point of order.
What point of order would you like?
Are we voting for this amendment with the operating and capital combined?
No. This is operating only, because
Thank you.
that's all that we have before us.
Voting's open. Councilman Marina Weber? Councilman Owen? Voting's closing. President Eckerson, you have 21 no, 4 yes.
The amendment fails. Councilman Winkler, you want to speak to the unamended version of this? Withdrawn, okay. I have no other speakers in the queue. So with the, Councilman Raymond, you're not in my queue, but if you want to talk, you've got it.
I didn't want to run out of time. To speak to the amended budget.
Well, the one that is presently in your system, not amended by Councilman Linenger, that failed.
Correct. Yes, please.
Speak away.
Okay. On the last budget that I voted on in Frankfurt as a state representative, I said that it was pretty good. For $15 billion, it would have to be pretty good. It had plenty of spending in it to benefit our residents, but I still voted no. Because pretty good is not good enough when it comes to the health and safety and well-being of our neighbors and the people that we represent. And just as the state underinvested in pre-K through 12 education and shorted state retirees, I believe that this budget misplaces priorities as well. This budget's about $1 billion. So again, of course, there's some good stuff in here, lots of it. There's important contributions to every district's parks and intersections and other amenities. To my most active budget feedback-giving constituent, Roger, solar for city buildings is here. But go with me. Do you ever have a hamburger and you eat the whole thing and then someone says, "How was that?" And then you think about it and you go, "It was just okay." Would you order it again? No. Would you recommend it to a friend? No. And this budget gives me that same feeling. Now, I know it takes a lot of work to make an okay burger, and I appreciate it. But we forgot to season this sucker. This budget does not offer a vision, not even one that I disagree with, so much as it addresses challenges at the margins. It includes a little bit of something for everybody so that we all walk out of here feeling like winners and post online what we are bringing home for our constituents. But Louisville loses when each of us feels like a winner because we're not being visionary as a body. This budget allows TARC to limp along while Lexington and Nashville are lapping us in prioritizing public transit. It funds license plate readers, but no truly meaningful investments in youth and family stability that would make them less necessary. It funds those park rangers, but it doesn't ensure that every court in every park is playable. What we need are people out there pulling weeds. We are not bringing library funding to levels that come close to matching our peer cities in per capita spending. Every one of them should be a palace, and every person who works in them should make more than $16 an hour. We are not fully funding traffic calming projects that are ready to be put into effect immediately to make our city and our people safer. How does Louisville look and feel different, brighter, bolder, in 10 years or 5 or even 1 because of this budget? I don't think that it does.
and so I'm voting no. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hawkins, you're next in my queue.
Can you call the question?
Want to call the question?
Yeah.
The motion to call the question. All those in favor say aye. Is there a
Aye.
second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. In opposition?
No.
I would say the noes have it. However,
Roll call.
well, we can do a roll call on the call the question.
Councilmember Best? Voting's closing. President Atkinson, you have 17 yes and 8 no.
It fails. All right, so next in my queue, I have Councilman Piagentini.
I'm sorry, it passes.
It passes.
It passes 17 to 8.
Yeah.
17 of the 25? Okay. Because we're one short. Okay, well, then it passes. So now the ordinance before us. Open the roll.
Mr. President, we're voting on the budget before us, right? Thank you.
Councilman Bretcher? Voting's closing. President Atkinson, you have 21 yes and 4 no.
The operating budget passes. Let's see here, Madam Clerk. Reading of our next item is going to be item number 62.
Item 62, an ordinance relating to the fiscal year 2025-2026 capital budget for the Louisville, Jefferson County Metro Government, including appropriations, authorizations of funds for general construction, maintenance, repair, and improvement of the facilities and assets of government to Louisville, Jefferson County, and other Louisville Metro supporting activities as amended, read in full.
Motion. Second.
Items brought before us, Councilman Kramer, this came from your committee.
I would reiterate much of what I said the first time through, so I'd ask for a yes vote. One last thank you before we move on. We could not make this happen without LaTanya Bell and Beth Stenberg, so thank you. And also a shout out to our caucus staff. I'm sure Marcus wants a shout out to his caucus staff, and I'll certainly shout out to ours for the work that they do behind the scenes as well.
Councilman Winker, anything to add?
No, just I know that LaTanya and Beth will take a well-deserved vacation after tonight, so take them.
Councilman Leninger, you're next in the queue. You have the floor.
I would like to make a motion about the previously referenced amendments for the capital budget.
Okay, that's before us. Councilman Piagentini, are you speaking to the amendment or speaking to the budget overall?
No, budget overall. I'll
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilwoman McCraney, are you going to speak to this amendment, or are you going to speak to the budget overall?
The budget overall.
All right, no one else is in the queue regarding the amendment proposed by Councilman Leninger. We'll have a roll call vote on that amendment.
Actually, Mr. President, I would like to make the statement for this amendment as well.
All right, then we will hold off on the roll call. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I must abstain from voting on any portion of the capital budget due to my prior employment with Simmons College of Kentucky and my involvement in writing some of the $3 million proposal for the William J. Simmons Foundation. So I will be abstaining. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. No one else in my queue to speak to the amendment. At this point, let's do a roll call on Councilman Leninger's amendment. A yes vote is in favor of his amendment, a no vote is against his amendment.
Voting is closing. President, you have 1 abstention, 20 no, and 4 yes.
The amendment proposed by Councilman Linenger fails. Councilman Piagentini, you're next in my queue. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. I won't reiterate a whole lot of my support here, other than, of course, I'm supporting this budget. And I do want to make a general statement about this budget and others, is that I want to compliment for a moment, even though I disagree with his amendment, Councilman Linenger, who had priorities and at least went through a process where he showed how he might fund those things. It is easy, and any one of us can, I'm sure, say again, that we would draft a different budget and maybe say, well, I don't like this because it doesn't go far enough or bold enough or take enough action on certain topics. But unless that is backed up by how that would be paid for, there are a lot of ideas on how to spend lots of money that we should be quite specific on how that would be funded. Through tax increases or through cutting other programs or through other things. So I would just encourage people who want to get more involved in the budget in the future, if you think those changes need to be made, to then propose alternatives. Because again, it's easy to say, there's a lot of things I would like to spend money on. There's a lot of things I'd like to cut, and I'm quite specific with what I think should be done. And I'm not going to propose a massive increase in multiple areas without maybe at least outlining on how that revenue would be raised. So, but this capital budget, as usual, is balanced, and I appreciate everybody's work on it. I encourage everybody's support. Thank you.
Councilman Hawkins, you were next in my queue. Councilman Hirsch, we followed it.
Thank you. Just for transparency reasons, I want to make it be known that I am highly involved with the youth football team that serves several of our districts that did receive funding. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that I serve as a liaison, allowing them to know who their council members are and where they can try to advocate for funding, but it is not a paid position. I'm just a liaison, so I want to make that very clear for transparency reasons. Thank you.
So there's no need for you to abstain? Correct. Yes. Councilman Parrish-Wright, you've got the floor, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to say that this is a process where I remember last year I voted against the operating budget and for the capital budget. And this year, my no, I want to explain why I'll be a no vote, is because that I am thankful that there was allotments taken out for South Louisville, but even though it wasn't really finally described on what those boundaries are. As a councilwoman that represents parts of West Louisville and parts of Southwest Louisville, I am thankful to see some attention being paid with this budget with that. I just want to remind my colleagues in the audience that a budget is not meant to be a re-election strategy. Many of us that are odd are up next year for election along with our mayor. A budget is not meant to be something that is partisan. It doesn't matter your party. You should all see and benefit because these are all of your tax dollars. A budget should be as inclusive as possible. And I do think that this budget could have been more inclusive, but that it is a better attempt than what I've seen before. But we are lacking in many areas. In a district like mine that has a strong, small city of Shively, we have our own budget, has not seen a lot of investment from the city budget, yet we give more than $9 million back in taxes. We give more taxes back to Louisville Metro than we do our own Shively city. Do you understand how complicated this is for some of us who represent smaller cities? And when we talk about what we're going to get, yes, we want the park improvements, we want public works, we want all those things. So what I'm looking at is that it feels like this is one-sided, that this budget is guided by some partisan and re-election strategies. And I will not not mention that, because I work on campaigns, I help people get elected, and I see a lot of the things that are happening. When it's time for reelection, many of us our constituents will say, what did you do? And some folks can show that they had road improvements, they had a lot of investment, and some of us won't be able to. But I think that as we move forward, the more attention that our community, that you as constituents pay attention to this process and get involved, and I reject the notion that people aren't involved. People aren't let in every part of the room that these deals are being made in. People aren't being let in, and we have been elected as a representative, and sometimes we're not in every part of the conversation. We were asked to submit what our possible amendments were. We were grouped in regions of South and West and East and asked what our priorities was, but at the end of the day, we did not make those final decisions, and some were made for us. So I just want to be clear about this process that while all the thanking is going on and all the praising is going on, it is. I don't take away from that. It is a lot of work, but it can be better. I appreciate that. I hope that my district isn't retaliated against because I'm going to be a no vote, but my no vote is in principle because this is not as inclusive of a budget as it should be. Thank you.
Councilman Owen, you have the floor.
Thank you, President. I didn't say anything until now, and I'm going to try not to repeat things, but this budget is so hard to construct when you have 26 people with different priorities. So you can say it's not bold enough, but every single one of them, every single one of us sitting here would have a different idea of what a bold agenda looks like. Every single one of us, if we had a veto power on a line item in the budget, there would be nothing left because somebody would find a reason to veto just about everything in the budget. What I said the other day in the budget committee meeting was that this budget is a house of 26 cards. We could all write an amendment to this budget to reflect our priorities. I don't begrudge anybody doing that. We have the right to do that. But we could all do that, and we would have a different, every one of us would have a different amendment. So I am, is the budget perfect? No, it never is. But I am absolutely respecting the process that we went through for 8 weeks to craft what is a really difficult process. And so, that's why I voted for the operating budget. That's why I'll vote for the capital budget. And I just wanted to just weigh in before we closed the voting on this. Thank you.
Councilwoman McCraney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I certainly support a lot of what we have done as a body to create an inclusive budget. This capital budget has a lot of great things in it. Of course, I certainly support our capital infrastructure funds for our particular district and so many other things about it. However, I will have to abstain from voting on the capital budget due to my employment prior with Simmons College of Kentucky and the fact that I was instrumental in writing the $3 million grant for the William J. Simmons Foundation. Thank you.
Seeing no one else in my queue, this is a ordinance that requires a roll call vote. Councilwoman Shanklin.
But when it first started out, I was told that the mayor put $3 million in the East End. He put $3 million in the Southwest. He put $3 million in the West End. What did he put in my district? Nothing. And I've been told I didn't get a lot in the budget. I told you guys I didn't get a lot in the budget. But I know next year's coming, and I expect to get the things that I want in next year, because we cannot all get everything we want in one budget. So next year, I'll be screaming the top of my lungs that I want my stuff in the budget. So I just want to say that my district gets left out all the time. I know you mentioned the Shabley, but Newburgh never gets nothing. Really? It's exactly true. I do a lot of fighting to get the stuff that I need in Newburgh. I just said $3 million went to the East End, $3 million went to the West End, and $3 million went to the Southwest.
What are you, though? Are you South, East?
I'm nothing.
That's the problem.
Yeah. So I think hopefully the mayor's listening, and next year, then he'll put $3 million out in my area. Thank you.
No one else in the queue. This is an ordinance that requires a roll call vote. Open the roll, please.
Mr. President, if I may, while the voting is taking place, this is not change anything, just real quick, point of personal privilege, I guess. All of us who are in politics or have ever been in a place where we stood in front of a group of people to say and said thank you, we generally know not to start thanking individual people because we know as sure as we do that, we'll forget someone. And sure enough, in our thank yous, we forgot a couple people. We've mentioned our staff, and we mentioned the great work the mayor did. We inadvertently forgot in our discussion, and I'm sitting here thinking about how things went, several conversations with Dana Mayton. I think the deputy mayor was here for just about every single budget hearing. Marcus, am I right? Deputy Mayor George was here for several. Angie Dunn and Aaron Jackson. All the work that Beth and LaTanya did with pulling all this stuff together would not have been possible if it hadn't been for Aaron Jackson and the work that he did as well. So, and I'm going to finish now by saying I feel certain I have forgotten someone else. I promise I did not leave you out on purpose. So this is the thank you to the person who I forgot to thank. You know who you are.
Madam Clerk, it appears that the roll is 20 yes votes, 4 no votes, and 1 abstention.
Correct.
Ordinance is adopted. Madam Clerk, a reading of item 63.
Item 63, an ordinance appropriating $5,089 from neighborhood development funds in the following manner: $4,589 from District 3 and $500 from District 4 through the Offices of Management and Budget to the Young Men's Christian Organization of Greater Louisville Incorporated for costs associated with the Black-Owned Business and Excellence Awards Program as amended.
Second.
Item is properly before us. Councilwoman Parker, this came out of your committee. You have the floor, madam.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is on old business because it was amended, and the sponsor is Councilwoman Parrish Wright, so I will let her speak to it, and it was amended to add money.
Thank you, Councilwoman Parker. Is the mic on? Okay. Thank you, Councilwoman Parker. I want to say first, thank you for making an allotments for this. The dates were moved around due to the weather issues we've had in our city, and there were a lot of challenges and changes. And I really am thankful to work with Councilwoman Parker, LaTanya Bell, and others to get this through, and want to thank Councilman Ben Reno Weber, who agreed to help me with this. This is they have been doing this self-funded for over 4 years. This was their 4th event to honor small businesses. As many of you know, small businesses are the backbone to our city in so many ways. And so we can't do a lot for them with our tax dollars and budget. So this was an award to honor the people who were nominated. But I want to share something, the businesses that were nominated through the YMCA and this program of honoring Black business owners, of which Councilwoman Tammy Hawkins received. What was your award? The Political Awesome Award. But over 876 small businesses in Louisville were honored and nominated in this process, and that is powerful. That we have so many people who are surviving and thriving and giving back to our communities, employing our young people, our seniors, and everyone in between. And so because we were able to do that, and I really beg Councilwoman Parker, who does not like to do events that have happened already, and she made that clear, I asked for this one-time special appreciation and appropriation to be able to cover some of the expenses for that award ceremony, of which, because of work and flying out of town, I didn't even get to go to. But I am thankful to hear that my colleague was honored, that it was a successful event, and it's really good for small business owners to see that we care about them, that we notice them, because they're lost in many of these conversations. So I'm asking for additional support to help get this over the line. What we say, was it $5,089? And Councilman Ben Reno Weber has agreed to pick up the rear. So if you feel sorry for him, please give something. It's not a lot, but we would appreciate you all giving something from your budget. Thank you.
Toss me under the bus like that. I just want to note that we had a really amazing victory today. Lita announced that GE is moving its global headquarters here. We're going to get 800 jobs. a floor of, and they're good, like union jobs, and every person in this chamber, I believe, would agree that the best social program is a job that pays a living wage. So that is awesome. If we are going to be the kind of city that we want to be, we need to be growing the local suppliers, the people that are going to feed into that chain, the innovators, the entrepreneurs, and this is a program we want them to run again next year. And so I definitely would like to encourage my colleagues to help us support exactly the kind of economic development that we want to see in our city.
Councilman Owen, you're next to my queue.
250 from District 9.
See no one else in my queue.
Sure. I was hoping a few more of my colleagues would kick in, but yes.
All right, so we've got the amended ordinance before us now, which I believe is fully funded, correct? Yeah, we're going to do that now. Just a second here. We'll take a motion for the amended ordinance. Second. Perfect. It's before us. All those in favor of the amended ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, now we have the amended ordinance before us. Requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Why does it say fail up there?
Councilwoman Purvis. Councilman Leninger.
Yes.
Councilman Sine.
Yes.
Councilwoman Parker. Councilman Benson.
Stuart, how do you want to vote?
And Councilman Bretcher.
Yes, and my little circles aren't popping up here, so.
Yeah.
Voting's closing. President Eckerson, you have 25 yes votes.
The ordinance is adopted. We're going to skip item 64, leave that on hold. We'll go to item 65, a reading of that item, Madam Clerk.
Item 65, an ordinance amending Chapter 90 of the Louisville Metro Code of Ordinance, LMCO, regarding smoking retail stores as amended.
Let's see here. Councilwoman Shanklin, this came out of your committee. Item 65, Madam.
It came out of committee with a yes vote. We had someone come in, and I can't even tell you, and I'm going to be truthful, what she talked about.
Okay. How about we tender the floor to Councilman Batchon or Councilman Hudson, who are the sponsors of this?
Yes.
Which one of you all want to take it?
I can take it.
Get the finger down there. It's all you.
It's pointing at me, so I guess I'll jump in. Thank you, colleagues. This came out as my office and other council offices. We've noticed that smoke shops will have been able to get around the zoning laws, either by initially lying on their application, stating that they should be grandfathered in, or they operate as a convenience store, even though they are set up as a smoke shop. With this amendment, what this amendment does, it clarifies what products are considered smoke shop products. It also keeps tobacco licensed applicants more accountable with their floor plans, percentages of sales, etc. It also makes it easier for the health department to pull the license of any applicants that are not in compliance or put false information on their application. Most importantly, not just the director of the health department can revoke the license, it can be any designee that the health department identifies, so it's not sitting on a desk for ever and ever and just forgotten about. So I look for your support to make this happen, and thank you.
Let's see here. Seeing no other speakers in the queue, this is an ordinance that requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
Yes. But I don't have a circle.
We're looking to replace this system soon, don't worry. It's been a bane in my
President
side.
Eckerson, you have 24 yes votes.
The ordinance is adopted. We're now going to jump backwards, and Councilman Lininger, I'm just going to give you a heads up. This is item 49 that you asked to be removed from the consent calendar. So, Madam Clerk, a reading of item 49.
Item 49, an ordinance establishing a development area pursuant to provisions of KRS 65.7041-65.7083 to be known as the 700 East Main Street Development Area, designating the Metro Development Authority Incorporated as an agency adopting a development plan, approving entering into a local participation agreement, authorizing the payment and the release amount pursuant to the terms and the conditions of the local participation agreement, requiring the submission of regular reports to Louisville, Jefferson County Metro Government, authorizing execution and delivery of any other documents and the taking of any other actions necessary to accomplish the purpose authorized by this ordinance. Read in full.
Items brought before us, Councilman Reno Weber, this came out of your committee. You have the floor, sir.
This came out of the committee with a unanimous vote.
Okay.
Councilman Herndon, this is in your district. Would you like to speak to it?
Councilman Herndon, you look here to speak to this.
Yes, thank you, sir. This is a project that is very much supported by the neighborhood in which it resides. I support it strongly as well, and I would ask for your support. Thank you.
Councilman Lininger, you're not in my queue, but I presume you want to speak to this.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I asked this to be pulled from the consent calendar so that I might vote no on this item. I think I've been a big enough of a pest this evening, but I just want to say that my problem is with the terms. 80% AMI, 10% of units, including half of those are going to be medium-term rentals. Our budgets, if I may speak to the budgets, are severely constrained by revenue choices. We don't have a lot of options for revenue. And I think it's important that we are stewards of what is a public resource, which is our tax base. And this project does not meet, in my opinion, the threshold for what we should be giving away a public resource, which is our tax dollars for this development. I believe this development A would go forward without the TIF. But even if it wouldn't, this isn't what I think that we should be funding. Again, 80% AMI in Lulu for only 10% of units. I don't think that meets my threshold for support.
Seeing no one else in the queue, this is an ordinance that requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
Voting's closing. President Eckerson had 21 yes votes, 2 present, and 2
no votes. Okay, the ordinance is adopted. The next item on our agenda will be item number 66. Madam Clerk, a reading of it such.
Item 66, a resolution pursuant to the capital and operating budget ordinance approving the appropriations to fund the following sole source contract for the Office of Management and Budget OMB for consulting service to assist analyzing and reporting costs, Public Consulting Group, LLC, $360,000. Read in full.
The item is brought before us. Councilor Reno Weber, this came out of your committee, sir.
This is an item in which was testified that we had a very limited window in which to hit an opportunity for us to be a part of billing Medicaid for an additional projected $2 million. I am unequivocally in favor of us having taken advantage of this, though I consistently and regularly do not generally approve of sole source contracts. I think in this instance, the timing constraints justifies it. We were able to jump on with another set of Kentucky cities in order to get in under the deadline. And so I urge my colleagues to be in support.
Councilman Reed, you're in my queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to Councilman Reno Weber's point, and you just answered my question about single source contractors. And, a lot of times we do that here and we don't question it, but it sounds as though you were on top of it. So thank you.
No one else in the queue. This is a resolution that requires a roll call, or requires a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
In opposition?
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, this passes unanimously and is adopted. The next item on our business will be item 67. Madam Clerk, a reading of such.
Item 67, an ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 8803 through 8807 Old Boystown Road, containing approximately 7.02 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 24 zone 0105. Read in full.
Item is brought before us. Councilman Owen, this came out of your committee. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, President Ackerson. This is a ordinance changing the zoning from R4 and C1 to C1 and OR1 to accommodate a 16,000 square foot Goodwill store and 3 different medical office buildings. It is on the old Bardstown Road Island along the southern edge of Glen Mary and north of Fairmont Road. There's a residential home on the site now that is set for demolition. This passed out of committee unanimously with 7 votes. It's in Councilman Bratcher's district, so I'm sure he would like to speak to it.
Councilman Bratcher, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This, upon reflection and study and some people that are in the know, that are a lot more intelligent in the engineering fields than I am, have found out that some of these traffic studies, especially for this one, is not doing its job. There's a lot of problems with the traffic study as you dig into it. And it just seems to me like we've rubber stamped traffic. The Planning Commission and whatnot have rubber stamped projects without looking deeply into the traffic problems. We have a serious traffic problem in Bardstown Road, and this is going to be right there stressing out a little road called Old Bardstown Road, which is barely 18 feet across. But the pickle is that there's binding elements that have got to get passed tonight because it runs out of its 90 days by the time we meet again. So it just seems like I hope that many of you will be patient with me and help me as I dig into this. I am new to this job, and I'm kind of flabbergasted how the Planning Commission operates. We've got to start looking, in my opinion, at the way things are operated and some of these studies that are being done, and dig deep and find out if they're being done properly. But with that said, Goodwill is a great group. I love Goodwill. They do amazing work, and this is a Goodwill store as the main property tenant or builder. And so, I will say let's vote for it. But if you're coming to Fern Creek, man, and you're going to start building, please bring some proper traffic studies. And I don't know if LDC needs to be changed or whatnot, but it seems like there's a lot of holes that need to be fixed or a lot of areas that need to be examined. So thank you.
Councilman Piagentini, you're next to my queue.
Thank you. Couple things. First and foremost, I want to compliment Councilwoman Parker for keeping my seat warm in council tonight. Thank you for sitting in my chair. Secondly, I want to back up and give a specific example of what this incredibly important topic that Councilman Bratcher has brought up here. I've got a road through my district which has now had, since I've been elected, easily 4 or 5 new subdivisions built on it, or building. Many of them are still under construction. And as part of that, each of them had to submit traffic studies to the Planning Commission. The most recent one, and this is over about a span of 5 years, actually had a lower amount of traffic reflected in the traffic study after all the development has gone on in that road with no other mitigating circumstances than the prior 2 years, the prior two traffic studies, which spanned a 5-year period of time, where hundreds, if not 1,000 plus units of homes had been built on that road. It's absurd. It makes no sense whatsoever. We have what seems to be a completely arbitrary way that we're executing these traffic studies with no, as my engineer friend on council said recently, feedback loop to double check and validate that these make sense, that they are consistent over time, and that they actually reflect the reality on the ground. So, as well as projected growth and all of these things. So I couldn't support my friend more. I think, on the specific thing, we'll vote in support of this particular project, but I'm talking to some of my colleagues. I'm glad to open it up to anybody else who's interested to get some minds working on how we clarify and change this process to make sure that the Planning Commission has accurate, verifiable data on real traffic circumstances before they make their decisions. I am increasingly convinced that is not the case. So to defend them to some degree, I don't even think they have the real picture when they are making these decisions. And that needs to be corrected at its root. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Seeing no one else in the queue, this is an ordinance that requires. Queue away then.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to piggyback on Councilman Piagentini's point and just highlight this specifically. And on a road that Councilman Reed and I share, which is Brownsboro Road, Highway 42, about 2 years ago, we had a development there and asked for a traffic study. And that traffic study showed that traffic on 42 had decreased over the period of the past 7 years, which basically predated the entire building of Norton Commons, and that somehow through the building of literally thousands of homes, somehow traffic went down on that stretch of road. I mean, it really defied all logic. So I couldn't agree more with your commentary that there's something wrong with how those counts are taken.
Councilman Benson, you're next to my queue.
Sir, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if y'all know this, but I've been on the council for 22 years, and I've talked about infrastructure from day one, and now we're having people interested. Maybe we can do something. Might be a really good thing. Thank you.
No one else in my queue. This is an ordinance that requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
Voting is closing. President Eckerson, 24 yes votes, 1 present.
1 present vote. Okay, the ordinance is adopted. The next item on our agenda will be item number 68. Reading of that, Madam Clerk.
Item 68, an ordinance relating to the zoning of property located at 1325 Texas Avenue containing approximately 0.1387 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 24 zone 0133, as amended by substitution, read in full.
Items properly before us. Councilman Owen, this came out of your committee.
Thank you, President Eckerson. I'm going to turn this over pretty quickly to Councilwoman Chapel because it's a little bit complicated, but this was an ordinance denying a change in zoning from OR1 to C1 located in Councilwoman Chapel's district at the intersection of Texas Avenue and Ash Street. Mixed-use structure was rezoned and blah, blah, blah. It was set up to be a deli, corner deli with outdoor seating. It's very unusual that we would try to send something back to the Planning Commission, especially when the Planning Commission voted unanimously. But a lot of us felt like the reasons that the Planning Commission used to deny this were not particularly strong, and the applicant was kind of told by the planning staff that this would sail through fairly easily, and so they weren't there to present their case at the Planning Commission because they didn't think it was an issue. And I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Chapel now so she can speak to the details. Thank you.
Councilwoman Chapel, you got the floor.
Thank you both. Sure.
Feels kind of odd that we're already 2 hours into this meeting. It's the first time I'm talking. I'm sure that you all are kind of surprised by that myself as well. But in 2023, when I got on this council, Metro Council rezoned this property from R5 to OR1 to accommodate a barber shop that had been operating in that space for quite some time, just getting their zoning to match up with their operation. I've lived in my home for 15 years, and it is, actually, I think it's 15 years today, which is really exciting. But that house is 1 block away from this location that we're talking about. And I've only known this location to be a barber shop, a sneaker shop, or vacant. Many moons ago, for many decades, it was a grocery store. It is a wonderful corner building, and it's at the intersection of Ash and Texas. If you go 1 block in the other direction, you're going to find Bean Coffee, The Pearl, and Neon Vintage. If you go a block in the other direction, you're going to find All Woolen Yard Wide Democratic Club, J Mar Sushi, and Pop's Place, which is a bar. This is a reuse of an existing building. The second floor is already a short-term rental, and it has been, and that won't change anything. This building sits on the number 43 bus line, the bus line that I would take if I were coming to City Hall. And this property owner and the proposed tenants both live within about a block of this location. I think that it's wonderful to see organic, grassroots businesses starting in our communities, and the people that are starting those businesses that live in that community. And so we really want to make sure that we're supporting that. This project fits within the neighborhood and is supported by Schnitzelberg's neighborhood plan. And as Councilman Owen said, this was approved and passed along with recommendation from our Planning and Design Department. Given that there are no obvious red flags, and because all of the reasons that I stated before, and because myself as a resident, I support this, and I'm sure that many, many others would, I'm really failing to understand why the Planning Commission gave this a 7-0 denial. And so I'm asking my colleagues to vote yes on this amended version so that we can send this back to the Planning Commission so they can consider a CR zoning instead of a C1. So it won't be, so we're looking at a lesser zoning, but I think that that's going to fit in very well, and all the considerations will be made. The applicant was actually there to represent themselves at the meeting, but because they were told that this shouldn't have been a problem, that it would have been, it was going to go through pretty easily, I don't think that they were anticipating needing letters of support or a big turnout. I think that they were, I don't even want to say misguided, but had they had the opportunity, I'm sure that they would have done everything that they could to make sure that they were proving that they were going to be a good neighbor. So again, I'm hoping that my colleagues will vote yes with me and sending this back to the Planning Commission.
Councilman Bellinger, you're next in my queue.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to speak in favor of Councilwoman Chappell's ask for us for this approval. This is just across the line in 2 different cardinal directions from my district, and I'm in this neighborhood all the time. This absolutely fits in the character of the neighborhood, and it's the sort of thing that this is why people that live in these neighborhoods want to live in these sort of mixed use of our neighborhoods. This is something we should absolutely support Councilwoman Chappell in.
Councilwoman Parrish Wright.
I too, as a border district, want to say I'm in support of this. There's been a lot of back and forth and a lot of work, but I've visited the neighborhood several occasions and even the bar sometimes. But I think this fits and it makes sense, and I appreciate her championing this.
See no one else in the queue. This is an order that requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I apologize. I have a question I forgot to queue in. My apologies.
You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. And I'll address my question to the President, but if I could get a clarifying question maybe for either the sponsor or the chairperson of the committee, Chairman Owen. I understood that this came out of committee 7-0, it sounded like my colleague from District 15, Councilman Chappell, did not amend it here. So what I am understanding happened is that in committee, you already passed 7-0 to send this back. Is that accurate?
No. So 7-0 was the Planning Commission vote, was unanimous at the Planning Commission to deny the original application. At committee, it passed the amendment that was presented by Councilwoman Chappell passed 4-3 to 1, I think it was. And then, as amended, it passed with 4 yes votes and then 4 present votes.
Can I just get one more clarifying question, Mr. President?
Sure.
So just to be super clear, Councilwoman Chappell created an amended version to send it back to committee, to send it back to the Planning Commission, pardon me. And then the amendment passed 4-3-1, and then the amended version passed 4 yes, and then a handful of present votes. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Hawkins?
All right, 7-0 Planning Commission. I mean, for me, it's just another example of why, some cases that go over there, we have to look at it at a different set of lenses. This is just another example of, what happens, and we need to keep our eyes on things like that. I want to say thank you to my colleague Andrew Owens, because he never goes against things like this. So, when he does, I always got to look at it right behind him. We kind of go, we don't always agree on this. So when he says it, I'm going to say that the person that lives in that district, the person that that was elected to serve that district should be the one making the choice of what those things look like. The people trusted, Councilwoman Chappell to represent them. So I hope that she can get everybody's support, because I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Councilman Hudson, you got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think there's enough confusion on this to go around. Could I ask you to have the clerk clarify what a yes vote means and what a no vote means, please?
A yes vote is going to send this back to the Planning Commission with a recommendation that it be revisited. A no vote what do I mean? What are we looking at here?
So one of the things that I think that you did not say is it's sending it back asking, instead of C1, asking to be CR, which was a less intense use than C1 is. It accommodates what they need to accommodate for the deli and the other business use that they needed for it, but it is less intensive, and I think it addresses some of the concerns that were expressed by a few of the very immediate neighbors, as opposed to how late they can stay open and some of the things as it relates to outside noise and that sort of thing. So,
but the question here is ultimately normally in planning and zoning, if we vote yes, it passes. If we vote no, we usually need some sort of flip of the script.
Yeah, maybe Travis can probably.
What the heck does a no vote do for us here?
Hi, everybody. Travis Feaster, Assistant County Attorney. This is a weird situation as far as the sort of posture here. So a yes vote would send it back to the Planning Commission. A no vote would be final action on the item for council's purposes. So the item would disappear like any other item that's voted down. The effect of that would be the 90-day date on this is July 23rd, so before our next meeting. And so the Planning Commission decision would become final and the zoning would be denied if there's a no majority.
So the end result is a yes vote sends it back for reconsideration, a no vote kills it.
Yes.
Okay. Is that clear? Clear as mud?
Thank you, sir.
All right, Councilman Winkler, you're my cue. Nope. Councilman Reed, you're next to my cue.
Back to Travis for a second. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so if it goes back to the Planning Commission, does that reset the 90 days?
So that is generally it gets a little nuanced here. There's not a crystal clear answer from the courts on this. And so if this was we sometimes give advice on cases where there is a yes recommendation from the planning commission, and we advise against sending it back in most circumstances out of fear that the 90 days might run, and then the planning commission's passage might happen. Because this is a no, the worst that would happen is that the case gets denied, which I know is not necessarily the sponsor's intent, but there's a little bit less risk than a case passing with no additional binding elements. That's just a bit of context. Our interpretation is that this will be able to get to the planning commission prior to that 30th date. And so if a new recommendation is issued within the 90 days, we consider that to restart the clock. If for whatever reason this does not get heard before the 90 days, the planning commission may need to look at a waiver of the 2-year rule to sort of ultimately hear it. But because it's the result of council directed action, I assume they would grant it in that case.
Thank you.
Councilman Batchon?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'm looking at it from a different lens, I think, is if this was to come out of the planning commission as a yes, to send it back, we would need to overturn with findings of facts, correct? I understand. If we're overturning the planning commission, we need to have findings of facts. In this case, we're sending it back to get them to change their recommendation. Do we have finding of facts for that? And I think that would need to be presented for us to determine whether it's wise to send it back or not.
Want to answer that?
Well, I would defer to Travis as well on that. I think it's
I think I can address that as well. So we're not just sending it back and saying, planning commission, we didn't like your answer, give us the opposite one, right? We're asking them to consider a lesser zone. There have been cases in the past where over the course of a case, for example, an applicant might ask for C2, but there is extensive discussion about the possibility of C1. I think there was one case where staff recommended C1, but the applicant pushed for C2. And then at the council level, the ultimate ordinance that passed accepted C1 rather than C2. So if a lesser included zoning is sort of explicitly contemplated and debated, we allow that action at the council level. In this case, CN was not explicitly part of the record, extensively debated at any. I think staff might have brought it up in a conversation beforehand, but it wasn't part of the record. And so this would go back down for a new hearing on a lower zone. It may end up with the same planning commission recommendation for denial. It may end up with a recommendation for approval. But it's not just asking them to flip their decision. It's asking them to really consider a new zone. And so findings of fact aren't needed for that. It's more of the procedural move to have them hold that new hearing on a new lower zone.
Can I follow up, Mr. President?
Please.
Travis, to do that, then you would be like just rezoning the process again. So if this was we move this with a no vote today and it dies, they can just reapply under the CR, correct? Without having to go through the 2-year process.
Well, if it's a no vote today, then on the 23rd, the planning commission's ruling would become final and the zoning would be denied. If the applicant then wanted to come back and ask for a CR, they could, but they would first have to go to the planning commission and ask for a waiver of the 2-year rule, which the planning commission may or may not grant. So effectively, council's saving them the time and procedure of that by sending it down directly rather than outright denying them and having them come back and reapply for a lesser zone. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Councilman Winkler?
Thank you, colleagues. I do find it a little bit funny that we're spending more time on this issue than we spent on the budget, but alas. This is very straightforward. Our colleague who represents this area has a question about what the Planning Commission did, is asking us not to deny the decision of the Planning Commission, but simply to send it back. Let's vote yes and move on. Thank you.
Councilman Leninger?
I'll withdraw. I was just going to provide the same answer Travis did. That was my understanding.
Councilman Piagentini?
I'm going to respectfully disagree with my friend and bordering colleague in District 17. I don't think it's that simple. It's actually quite rare. I bluntly can't remember a time where we had a 7-0 vote to stop a rezoning, and then this council overturned it or sent it back in this way. This is an extremely rare scenario. And even coming out of planning, and that's why I asked clarity on what happened in planning and zoning. We see even that committee wasn't even remotely on board or in agreement about what should happen here. So I don't think it's that straightforward. I'm not saying we have overturned the planning commission in the past. That's usually where it's close votes or, there's some weird irregularity or they made a fundamental mistake or error, right? And all these things, to send something. I mean, could you imagine a scenario in which a developer, proposed something in my district that passed 7-0, passed or denied 7-0, and then, we just, started sending it back because we disagreed. And the justification was that just trust Piagentini because he lives in that district. That has not happened that way in my experience. In the 7 years I've been here, there have many times been a council member advocating for a change to a decision from the planning commission that the rest of the council didn't agree with, and that was not overturned or changed because of that. So I appreciate that for one of my colleagues, at least, this is an easy decision, and I assume he'll vote accordingly. I don't think it's quite that easy. I think this is actually a very unique situation from what I can tell. So, that's. I just wanted to object to it being that simple. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. And this will be my last question. This one, again, is for Travis. I'm trying to understand the technicalities here. So I keep hearing that this is going to go to a lower zoning classification, correct?
Well, it's being proposed for a hearing to consider going to a lower zoning.
So
but yes, that would be the goal.
Okay, so who is making that application? Is it the applicant for rezoning, or is it Councilwoman Chapel? Help me to understand that.
It'll be the applicant. So we have been in discussion with the applicant like we would for any other, binding elements in zoning cases. They are open to applying for CR. They're happy to work with staff to try to get this, a revised application together and such. So it'll be the applicant working with staff to have a new hearing, and then once that is completed, there will be a new recommendation sent up to council for final review.
Got it. Thank you.
Councilwoman Chapel, anything new to add?
I don't know. I feel like why aren't we questioning that the finding of fact should be the staff's recommendation for this zoning and our planning commission going opposite of that? Why aren't we dissecting the paid staff who are professional in their fields who recommended this, who said this checks all of the boxes for a yes, and then the planning commission, and I'm still failing to understand why they denied it. I don't understand why we're not having more of an issue with that than this. And in the committee, it felt like this was more of an issue of, I don't know, people were concerned with parking in my very walkable neighborhood, or concerned with intersections, or concerned with other things. And now it seems like this is being the whipping post for a discussion, a larger discussion that is needed about our planning commission. I think that needs to be examined. And I'll leave it there, even though I'm practicing restraint. The lower zoning, as I understand it, the applicant is very open to that. They weren't presented with that option at the beginning. Had they had that option, I'm sure that they would have gone for that. I think that there's a lot of miscommunication here. And again, we're not overturning anything, we're just asking for something to go back to be reconsidered. But I also want to, once again, say, if you don't have a problem with this being recommended and denied, then that is a problem.
Councilman Piagentini, anything new to add?
Yes, to respond directly to that, this is not the first time, or even remotely the first time, that recommendations from the planning or planning and design have then been a different decision that has been made by the planning commission. That is not, I'm not saying it's normal, it happens every day, but it happens. And I'm reading the minutes from the meeting, from the Planning Commission meeting, and there's many people that spoke in opposition, or a handful, we can debate on how to quantify that, and they have a series of whereas clauses stating over and over again that the proposal, uses statements, does not meet Community Form Goal 1, Policy 7, located in a neighborhood with several corner commercial uses. It says, does not meet Community Form Goal 1, Policy 18, mitigate adverse impacts of noise from proposed development of existing communities. Finds the proposal does not meet Community Form Goal 1, Policy 6. So, I appreciate that we are having a difference of opinion here. That's fine, but I do want to point out that I get what you're questioning, but this is not the first time that the Planning Commission has come to a different decision than Planning and Design. If the Planning Commission's job was to approve whatever Planning and Design said, we wouldn't have the Planning Commission. We would just have Planning and Design propose things to us, and that would be the end of it. So, again, I think this is more complicated, and even coming out of our committee, it was not unanimous. So I don't think it should be a surprise that it's not unanimous here. Thank you.
Councilwoman Purvis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to call the question.
Yes. Thank you. Do we have a second on that? Second. All right. All those in favor of calling the question, say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition?
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The question is called. Open the roll, please.
Yes. Yes.
President Eckerson, you have 14 yes, 11 no.
The ordinance passes. And I guess we'll say it should be sent back then for consideration. The next item on our agenda will be item number 69. Reading of that, please, Madam Clerk.
Item 69, an ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 6422 and 6808 Billtown Road, containing approximately 21.5 acres and being in Louisville Metro. Case number 24 Zone 0137 as amended, read in full.
Second.
Items brought before us. Councilman Owen, this came out of your committee. You have the floor again, sir.
Thank you, President Eckerson. This is an ordinance changing the zoning from R4 to R6 and C1. Parcel is just northwest of the Gene Snyder's intersection with Billtown Road. The proposal calls for 2 abutting parcels to be developed into a coffee shop, restaurant, 240 multifamily units, and a convenience store, all entering from the stop light at Yell House Lane. Passed the Planning Commission at 7-0, also passed unanimously out of our committee. It is in Councilman Bratcher's district. I'm sure he would like to speak to it.
You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the Wawas is what this is, and they're going to make significant changes to Gavel House and Billtown Road, and they're right next to the Gene Snyder, right where great development should be, next to a good road that can handle the traffic. So I say let's pass it.
Who doesn't want a Wawas? All right, let's see here. No one else in the queue. This is an ordinance requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
Voting's open.
Present.
Taking her ball, going home.
Voting's closing. President Eckerson, you have 24 yes and 1 present.
The ordinance passes. Madam Clerk, a reading of item number 70.
Item 70, ordinance amending section 4.3.14 of the Louisville Metro Land Development Code LDC regarding density occupancy requirements for transitional housing permitted by right with special standards in R-5A and R-5B zoning districts. Case number 24 LDC 0012, read in full.
Items brought before us. Councilman Owen, this came out of your committee. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, President Eckerson. This is a little bit complicated. I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Batchon in just a minute. This is, it was initiated by Resolution 126-24, and the resolution asked the Planning Commission to recommend changes to the transitional housing regulations, specifically in R5A and R5B districts, with emphasis on the number of beds allowable under transitional housing. Simultaneously, we imposed a temporary moratorium on R5A and R5B transitional housing applications. In the staff reports, comments were received expressing concern about the occupancy rates in these R5A and R5B without having to get a CUP, a conditional use permit. The by right occupancy was tied currently to both the current residential density allowance for the parcel and the current average family size for the county. So what specifically happened here is this would adjust the by right occupancy for transitional housing in R5A and R5B to the same as is allowed in a single family zoning district, which is 3 per dwelling unit or lot. I know that's not particularly clear, and I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Batshon because he can make this as clear as mud.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me to speak on this. Transitional housing is obviously a big topic in a lot of our communities, and we want to, make sure that we take care of the folks that are in need and in need of recovery with the proper ways to address that. We sent this to the planning staff to work on, and they came back with the recommendations. For example, R5A, R5, and R5B prior to this was allowing the number of residents in a home based on the square footage of the land by calculation and not by the size of the residence in itself. So for transitional housing, different residential zoning types allow different numbers of people to live in a home. For single-family zoning like R4, the occupancy is limited to 3 beds max. R5A and R5B zoning were lumped into a system determined by a lot size given the example like I gave last year of Lower River Road. It was 3.5 acre property, 4,000 square foot home, applied for beds up to 106 beds in this property. It had no amenities near it, it had no transit near it, nothing to allow these folks good opportunity for second chance. This amendment changes the R5A and R5B, typically patio homes, and townhomes to more of like a single-family dwelling. And now instead of R5A and up being determined by lot size, it is R6 and up. We also have sent over a bill to the Jefferson County Attorney's Office that mirrors what the state has passed regarding the registration and regulations of Recovery House and the attempt to weed out the bad actors while also acknowledging that those people or those with help should be able to get it without being taken advantage of. I look for your support in this, and we will have the second part of this come to Planning and Zoning soon to make those amendments in the in the Land Development Code as well. Thank you.
Councilman Purvis, you're in my queue.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be added as a sponsor.
Sounds great. Love it.
Anybody else?
So done.
Sign up.
Councilman Owen?
I'd just like to follow up. I know this was very much a step in the right direction, and I appreciate the process and everything that happened here, and I will be supportive of this. I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
All right, I've got Councilwoman Mole Woodridge in.
I would also like to be added as a sponsor.
Okay.
So tripartisan support.
Councilwoman Bast?
I just wanted to note that I support this and would like to be added as a sponsor.
That objection, you are added as a sponsor. No one else in my queue. This is an ordinance that requires a roll call vote. Well, the whistling's not in the queue, brother. What?
You're not looking at the queue. My queue says that I'm in. Anyway, my bad. So I'd like to be added as a sponsor as well, and I applaud Councilman Batshon for his very hard work on what I think is a very complex issue that will affect all of the districts.
See no one else in the queue? No whistles? This is an ordinance that requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
Vote is open. President Eckerson, you have 24 yes votes and 1 present.
The ordinance is adopted. Madam Clerk, at the reading of item number 71.
Item 71, an ordinance relating to zoning of property located at 6700 Strawberry Lane containing approximately 0.645 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 24 zone 0126, read in full.
Item is brought before us. Councilman Owen, out of your committee, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Atkinson. This is an ordinance changing the zoning from C1 to C2 for a parcel at the corner of Strawberry Lane and Estella Avenue near the Southside Drive Pick Pack. Property currently functions as a small grocery or food mart. That building would be demolished and replaced with 2 buildings, one 6-bay, 7,500 square foot, and one 4-bay, 4,400 square foot garage. This passed out of our committee unanimously and is in Councilman Batshon's district. I'm sure he'd like to speak to it.
Councilman Batshon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just look for your support in this as we make net positive changes in our community, so thank you.
Seeing no one else in the queue, this is an ordinance that requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
Voting is open. Voting is closing. President Eckerson, you have 24 yes votes and 1 present.
The ordinance is adopted. The reading of item number 72, Madam Clerk.
Item 72, an ordinance relating to the zoning of property located at 941 East Main Street containing approximately 0.382 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 24 zone 0132, read in full.
Second.
Item is brought before us. Councilman Owen, you have the floor.
This is an interesting one. This is a change in zoning that changes a former parking lot that's catty-cornered from the Plumber Supply Building, and the applicant wants to keep it a 42-space parking lot. It passed out of the Planning Commission 9-0 unanimously and came out of our committee also unanimously, is in Councilman Herndon's district, and I'm sure he'd like to speak to it.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Chairman. I support this, and I believe Councilman Batchon has a friendly amendment.
Yes, thank you. Travis, I want to just add the amendment of the binding element of the standard binding element to this after I've spoke to Councilman Herndon. You know, as we continue to flow in the right direction with net positive developments, we look for your support on this. Thank you.
Got to do it with a straight face, man.
All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
In opposition? Hearing no opposition, we now have the amended ordinance before us. No one else in my queue. This is an ordinance now, as amended, requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, open the roll. And there we go.
I did once. So now it's 13.
Councilmember Leninger. Councilman Benson. Voting is closing. President Eckerson, you have 24 yes and 1 present.
The ordinance is adopted. Madam Clerk, a reading of item number 73.
Item 73, an ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 4201 Taylor Boulevard and 1056 Bluegrass Avenue containing approximately 1.7 acres and being in Louisville Metro. Case number 24 zone 0138, read in full.
Motion. Second.
Item is brought before us. Councilman Owen.
Thank you, President Atkinson. This is an ordinance changing the zoning from R5 to C1. It's the former Hazelwood Baptist Church, which now meets under the name Providence Baptist Church, behind the BMW and Lexus of Louisville dealership off Blankenbaker Parkway. The proposal calls for repurposing the Sunday school building into a neighborhood health clinic offering primary care services. The applicant is also requesting a conditional use permit to operate the medical clinic. It's in Councilwoman Rui's district. She attended our committee meeting and is in support of this. It passed out unanimously and also passed out of Planning Commission unanimously. So we would ask for your support. Thank you.
Seeing no one in the queue, this is an ordinance that requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
Vote is open. Voting is closing. President Eckerson, you have 25 yes.
The ordinance is adopted. Madam Clerk, a reading of item number 74.
Item 74, an ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 3145R, 3147, 3151, 3153 South 3rd Street containing approximately 0.54 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 25 zone 0006, read in full.
Second.
Item is properly before us. Councilman Owen, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Ackerson. This is an ordinance changing the zoning from R6 to C1. It's just west of the Central Station Kroger and directly south from the Starbucks. They're currently vacant lots between 2nd and 3rd Streets. It's been vacant for a while, and it will be repurposed for a drive-through coffee shop with a walk-up window, a Dutch Brothers coffee shop. It passed out of committee unanimously. It's in Councilwoman Chappell's district. I'm sure she would like to speak to it.
It's a Dutch Brothers Coffee. Thank you.
Seeing no one else in the queue, this is an ordinance that requires a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
President Atkinson, you will vote. Voting is closing. President Atkinson had 25 yes votes.
The ordinance is adopted. It was a fast flow, folks. That concludes the old business. The next item of business is new business. As you leave the chambers, please do so quietly so the clerk may read new business.
Oh, Brent.
I would ask those council members who wish to make announcements to please remain in the chambers and request to speak once we're done with the new business. New business comprises items 75 through 88. Will the clerk read those items and their committee assignments?
The following legislation was assigned to Appropriations Committee. Item 75, an ordinance appropriating $7,500 from District 13 Neighborhood Development Funds through the Office of Management and Budget to Faraday Fair Community United Incorporated for sponsorship of the 2025 Faraday Fair to be held October 2nd through the 4th, 2025. Item 76, an ordinance appropriating $11,491 from District 21 Neighborhood Development Funds to Public Works for clearing and beautification projects on Lucas Avenue and Dirt Lane in District 21. The following legislation was assigned to the Committee on the Committees. Item 77, a resolution pursuant to capital operating budget ordinance approving the appropriations of fund the following professional service contract for Louisville Metro Office of Internal Audit for Workplace Investigation Service, $20,000. The following legislation was sent to Government Oversight, Audit, and Appointments Committee. Item 78, the orders of the Louisville Jefferson County Metro Council to approve an execution by the City of Indian Hills to tract the land known as the Old Federal Road continues to the present boundary as said city, but not continues to the boundary of the former city of Louisville, and being in an unincorporated area of the former county of Jefferson. The following legislation was assigned to Labor and Economic Development Committee. Item 79, the ordinance establishing a development area pursuant to provisions of KRS 65.7041 through 65.7083 and KRS 154.30. 010-154.30090 to be known as the Distillery Commons Development Area, designating the Metro Development Authority Incorporated as an agency adopting a development plan, approving, entering into a local participation agreement, authorizing the payment of the released amount pursuant to the terms and conditions of the local participation agreement, requiring the submission of the regular reports to Louisville Jefferson County Metro Government, and authorizing execution and delivery of any other documents and the taking of any other actions necessary to accomplish the purposes authorized by the ordinance. Item 80, a resolution of approving and granting the local incentives to certified partners, LLC, and their subsequent assignees or pre-affiliates thereof pursuant to KRS Chapter 154, Subchapter 32. Item 81, a resolution authorizing the mayor and the Department of Economic Development to request an economic development grant from Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority for the benefit of V Simple Incorporated, the amount of $500,000 to accept said grant if awarded. Item 82, a resolution authorizing the mayor and the Department of Economic Development to request an economic development grant from the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority for the benefit of and to Energy Incorporated in the amount of $750,000 and accept said grant if awarded. Item 83, a resolution pursuant to the capital and operating budget ordinance is approving the appropriation to fund the following professional service contract for Louisville Metro Public Health and Wellness to obtain specialized physician services. Mark S. Jurix, MD, $183,960. Item 84, resolution pursuant to the capital operation budget ordinance approving a appropriation to fund the following non-competitive, non-negotiated professional service contract for the Louisville Metro Police Department concerning forensic medical services for abused and neglected children. Community Medical Associates Incorporated, DBA, Norton Children's Medical Group, $200,000. Item 85, a resolution ratifying and approving the collective bargaining agreement from the date of its approval through June 30th, 2029, relating to wages, hours, and other terms and conditions of employment between Louisville, Jefferson County Metro Government and American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, Local 2629, AFSCME, concerning employees of Metro Parks Department Maintenance and Recreation Units for whom AFSCME is recognized for exclusive bargaining representative. Item 86, a resolution ratifying and approving the collective bargaining agreement from the date of its approval through June 30, 2029, between Louisville, Jefferson County Metro Government and the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, Local 2629, AFSCME, related to wages, hours, and other terms and conditions of employment of certain civilian employees in Louisville Metro Corrections Department. Item 87, a resolution ratifying, approving collective bargaining agreement from the date of its approval through June 30, 2029, relating to wages, hours, and other terms and conditions of employment between Louisville, Jefferson County Metro Government and Teamsters Local 783, Louisville, Jefferson County Metro Government, and affiliated with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters of America, representing Louisville Emergency Service Metro Safe Department. The following legislation was assigned to Planning and Zoning Committee, an ordinance amending the Louisville Metro Code of Ordinance, Chapter 156, requiring the clear boarding of vacant at-risk properties. Ready and full?
I want to talk about, I want to speak to D'Angelo Russell Day. It will be in Algonquin Park, and he will also have a few more pro basketball players with him on that day. Hopefully the community can come out. It will be from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Algonquin Park, Saturday. Thank you.
And I just want to make a shout out to our economic development team. For anyone who did not see the announcement today about GE Appliances announcing their global headquarters being in Louisville, Kentucky, that is far from the first announcement since the creation of LEDA about headquarters moving into Louisville or moving into downtown, but I just want to be sure that that did not get missed. GE Appliances is announcing officially that they are creating 800 new jobs and that they're moving their global headquarters here.
And none of that would have happened but for LEDA.
That is correct.
That concludes our meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 31st at 2025 at 6 p.m. With no further business, we are adjourned.